In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E.
Good day, everyone. Nestor Licanto here with another edition of In Full Zoom. And this week, our guest is Phil Leddy, who is the new Executive Director of the Chamber-affiliated Action PAC. Good day, Phil.
Good day, Nestor, and good day, KUAM family. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate you being here. So for those who might not remember, I think the Action PAC was established for the first time last year. And so this, not last election rather, and this will be the second time. And you are the newly appointed new Executive Director. Tell us a little bit about what the Action PAC is for those who might not recall.
Yeah, definitely. So the Action PAC, you know, we got into the previous election cycle, I want to say midway through. And it was just a combination of all of the larger business organizations on Guam, and we are a nonprofit political movement of sorts. We're trying to really find and vet senators who are going to back some concerns that we have, but it is not a business organization. It's a fully inclusive organization made up of anyone who considers Guam their home. Okay,
and so we'll go through a little bit more about the, what those initiatives are, and starting with the number one initiative. I think we've been hearing that from the Chamber for quite a while now, a number of years, is reducing the business privilege tax back from the current 5% back to 4%. Tell us a little bit more about that. Why is that important?
Yes, definitely. Well, I do want to just make it very clear that that the Action PAC, definitely we are backed by the Chamber, but we are also backed by the Korean Chamber, Chinese Chamber, Women's Chamber, the Guam Contractors Association, Hotel and Restaurant Association, as well as the Association of Realtors on Guam. So it is a multi-point PAC of sorts, where we all share the same concern, beginning with the rollback of the business privilege tax from 5 to 4%. A few years ago, some will remember that the increase in tax from the original 4 to 5% was a temporary measure. The unfortunate truth is a bill was passed to make that measure permanent. And at the time, it made absolute sense because, you know, there were some shortfalls financially to the government. So to avoid any furloughs, you know, tough decisions were made. Now the government is in a surplus. Being that the government is in a surplus and we are trying to revitalize our economy, it's important for the government to now back the businesses, and starting with the rollback of the BPT would be a great point. And I want to make it very clear, the business privilege tax it benefits everybody as far as the rollback is concerned. When you are a consumer, we go to the grocery stores, it's a stark difference pre-pandemic to now as far as pricing and inflation. That's just a fact of the matter. The business privilege tax rollback will accomplish seeing a stop to this incline in pricing for all of our common goods. So it is an across the board benefit for everyone here on island. Okay,
and with the pandemic, it's needed. I believe the business community's position is needed now more than ever because of the pandemic. Second question. Right. Yeah. Second initiative, the right sizing the government. Explain that.
Well, the term right sizing the government, that was you know, when the PAC was originally formed, and that was the term that they had decided to go with. But the truth of the matter is, we revamped it. Like anything, progress is dependent on growth. So we realized that that's just not the right way to position what we're really trying to do. So instead of right-sizing the government, we are trying to advocate for government increased efficiency to protect and preserve its resources. So we want the government to, you know, to really be intentional of what they're trying to do. We're not trying to eliminate jobs. That's definitely not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is we're trying to say, okay, if we have a certain a topic or a certain concern on the table, how do we tackle it more in the most efficient way to avoid wasting time? It's not really how long they spend physically in that in Congress or in the legislature. It's what are they doing with their time to ensure that our concerns and these bills that they're passing to increase our livelihood here on island, how quick are they able to get it done? And that's one of the things that we want to do.
All right. And the third initiative, improving transparency. We're all for that in the media.
Absolutely. I mean, it's unfortunate that sometimes we have to remind our elected officials that they are elected. And as a voter, as a taxpayer, as a citizen of Guam, we for lack of a better term, we don't want to resort to having to hold their feet to the fire. It shouldn't be that way. It should be the private sector, the public sector, and the general citizen they're able to have a conversation, and we're able to see exactly what is your intention, whatever you promise, are you delivering it? And if not, we have the right to call you out per se on it and say, hey, this is what you mentioned that you were going to do when you garnered my vote. I am the voter. I assisted in putting you in office. I have some questions and I do expect some answers.
All right, and the fourth of the five is military relations.
That's important, just logistically. I mean, it's no secret that we are close in this area to allies, but also to countries that really don't share our same political or democratic views. So it's important for us to continue to work closely with the federal government, but also to still garner the concerns of our local community as far as what the buildup entails. But it's really a concentration on our overall the improvement of our security in our region, and to maximize the economic opportunities for Guam. That's where we stand in regards to strengthening the relations with our U.S. military.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
Yeah, and number five, a part-time legislature.
Oh, that's a hot topic these days, isn't it? So part-time legislature, I guess what a lot of people soon forget is, I would say 1980 and previously, our legislature was part-time and there was more participants in the legislature. So one of the things that we believe in is what I like to call a citizens legislature. By switching to a part-time legislature, you'll have a lot more interested participants from multiple fields, whether it be the teacher that's just about to retire that has some concerns about our educational system, or the doctor that is retired that doesn't want to commit fully to a full-time job, but has a lot of energy to commit to the community in regards to the medical field. So part-time legislature would open up those avenues. And truthfully, it's the Supreme Court passed a ruling or a law recently that stated that a quorum of the legislative body would be able to pass bills with just those in attendance. I believe the minimum is 4. Having only 4 people with that power to pass bills isn't a great thing. And the more participation we're able to have with what I like to call the citizens legislature, I believe that that's going to be the best interest of our island.
All right. And will you be organizing candidate forums so that the membership will be able to, get a sense of how they fall on these different, their positions on these various initiatives that you've outlined?
Absolutely. That's actually one of the most exciting parts about me taking up this position as the executive director for the Action PAC is along with, the traditional forums, or at least what we're able to accomplish with respect to the governor's mandates. We're looking at launching a podcast of sorts where we're going to have a lineup of the guests, whether it be the senator hopeful or the business leader or the community advocate. We line up a guest schedule, and then we field the questions prior to the episode recording. So it's really, we want to act as the voice. I believe the Action PAC is the platform. I believe that leaders like myself with the PAC are, in a sense, the microphone, and then the community is the voice. So by working together, we're really going to ask, some of the hard questions, but some of the very real concerns to these candidate hopefuls, to our business leaders, and just really figure out what is the plan. So the podcast is one of the things I'm most excited for. And just to add to our total inclusive membership, which the membership is free to be a PAC member, anyone and everyone is can be, and we hope they will be a PAC member. And we want to include the community in helping us suggest names for this podcast, because essentially we are you. And we want to bring you into the fold. So if anyone would like to help us with that, at the end of this show, I'm going to give you the contact information on our multiple platforms, and we'd love to hear your suggestions.
All right. And how will you go about evaluating and then ultimately endorsing which candidates you will be supporting?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, we also have to hold ourselves accountable to the last election. So in the last election, what we did and what we will continue to do is we have our list of questions that are based off of our initiatives as the action PAC. And we submitted it and sent it out to all of the hopefuls, the candidate hopefuls. And those that did respond back, we were able to gauge, okay, are they in line or are they not in line? We understand that there's a lot of other great topics or concerns of the island, but specifically for the action PAC, if you were in line with majority of our initiatives, then you garnered our support. If you weren't in line, or for those that unfortunately didn't respond back, then of course we weren't able to give you the support, because we have to stay true to what our mission is. So to hold ourselves accountable with the previous election, we're going to be submitting a candidate report card for those that we did back. And we are going to look at what bills did you vote on? What areas did you not vote on that actually were concerning to us and our initiatives? And we're going to publicly release a report card. And then we will go through the vetting process with the upcoming senatorial candidates.
Yeah, and in your endorsement list, will that come out before the August primary?
Well, it's an exciting time. Everyone's getting their packets in. It will come out before the primary, so we're hoping to see a lot more activity as far as knowing the who's who of who's running. It's going to be difficult for us to put our backing without a nice plethora of candidate options. So as they come in, we're going to be submitting our vetting questions and really going through a process of really ensuring that we're not seeking your promises. We want to know where your principles lie, and we want to know what you're really going to deliver.
Yeah, and this will be for all positions, from governor, legislature, and even mayors, or just the administration and the legislative branch?
Currently, we are focusing on the legislative branch. And truthfully, the legislative branch is a separate leg of the government. And that's one of the things that we want to empower those that are hoping to receive a seat to represent us in the legislature, not represent the action PAC, but represent Guam in a whole. We want to empower them to start acting like a separate branch. As far as the gubernatorial, congressional, or mayoral, that's something that is up in discussion with my board, and we should have an answer on that soon. But at the current time, we're really focusing on the legislative branch.
All right, and over time, we've all come up with these different mythical voting blocks: the GovGuam voting block, the Filipino voting block, the Chamorro voting block. Is there really a private sector voting block, and are you able to harness those votes and let the candidates know that, hey, these are our issues and these are what the concerns of our voting block is?
Well, Action PAC wants to ensure that all concerned citizens have a voice. That in itself is a voting block. The citizens are a voting block, and that includes all sectors. I think it's success just the fact that we have all these separate industry business organizations in agreement. That in itself, again, is a voting block. So I do think that it is rather successful. I do think that we are able to have, I guess, a private voting block. But the fact of the matter is, although some will label the government's employees as their own separate voting block, all in all, they're citizens. We are all citizens of Guam. So we welcome government employees to be a part of the PAC. If our initiatives align with the future of Guam that you hope to see, then join the PAC. And we are a citizens voting bloc.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E.
Yeah, and how important is this election for the business community? Because of the fact that the pandemic has really, for example, decimated our number one industry, tourism. How important will these upcoming elections be, and the leadership that is generated by the elections? How important will that be for the economy?
Incredibly. It's no denying how impactful this pandemic has hit our business community. And truthfully, I've had, I don't want to call it the pleasure, but I've had the opportunity to be on both sides of this pandemic from a business standpoint. Fortunately, my main position as a private businessman, the industry I'm in, we were considered essential. So I had the pleasure of still serving, our businesses and our government entities in the industry that I was currently in during the pandemic. We didn't stop. But a lot of my clients and a lot of my the companies that contracted my services, and the number of calls and emails that I received of businesses shutting down due to the restrictions or due to these off the cuff decisions is astounding, and it's scary. And this election is so important because we're not just in a pandemic of health. We're in a pandemic of economy. We're in a pandemic of education. And we need to really decide and be confident that the people that we are placing in office this time are going to address all of these sectors. There's a lot of great initiatives and bills that have been passed, in the previous amount of years. But really, it's more than ever so important for our economy and for our educational system and also the healthcare system. But we need to work and see all fronts and not just focus simply on health. Health is very important, but we also need to be concerned with what future will our kids have in 10 years, in 20 years. I'm a single father of 4. I am concerned about if our only real industry is still at a standstill. Man, thank God that we have the buildup happening right now, and all of the federal funds and the construction industry is thriving. Because if that wasn't in place, we'd be in a lot more of a dire situation than we are currently today.
Yeah, and arguably the economy will be the most important issue heading into this year, as the federal assistance, which really, to be honest, is what propped us up in the past year and a half or 2 years. That as that dries up, the impact of the pandemic on the economy will be more severely felt in this coming year. So it could be argued easily that the economy will be the most compelling issue for this election.
Nestor, you're absolutely right. I mean, we got to call it for what it is. The federal government bailed us out, not just us, but all the other states and territories in the nation. But the economy we need to address. And there was a report that came out, had headlined on one of the newspapers that stated that 50,000 people do not want to work. That alone is concerning. But I don't believe that was an accurate representation. If I didn't have the opportunity or the support system to have family members assist with my children while they did the virtual learning from home, I wouldn't want to work either, because my family's health and wellness is my absolute concern. So I wouldn't have to make that hard decision to not work. But truthfully, the economy is where you find freedom. Of course, after our military and their sacrifices, you feel a sense of freedom when you go to work. So the businesses provide freedom to the economy, or to our general public. You have a sense of freedom when you go earn an honest wage and you're able to take care of your family from an honest earned paycheck. If you're not working, you're on the dependency system. And I firmly believe that majority of our citizens do not want to be on a dependency system, especially when it's good and then it dries up.
Yeah. Are there any particular issues that or things that you take issue with the current legislative leadership about when it comes to the economy? are there things that right now you and the organization would hope that they would address immediately?
You know, that's always gonna be a little bit tough, because it's hard to be in their shoes, especially with something as new and severe as the pandemic that we have had to experience together. But when it comes down to it, everyone's experiencing it. So we need to make tough decisions. We don't just need to continue to go with the flow and make knee-jerk reactions. We need to be proactive and get in front of things. And I don't think that we did that to the best of our abilities. I do believe that since the government is in such a surplus, then they need to make decisions like rolling back the business privilege tax. They need to find ways to pump more attention and funds into the businesses to revitalize these jobs that were lost during the pandemic. And more importantly, we really need to look at, from an educational standpoint, what effect is this having on the child, on our future? But then when we're affecting that, what effect does it have on the breadwinners of the family or the parents who have to go out and make a living? So everyone's in this long 2-year limbo. And I think that we could have made some great decisions, or maybe had some hard conversations on things that we must do going forward.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E.
How about things like pay raises? You know, we have the law enforcement pay raise, and we might have the teachers pay raise. And it can be argued that, you know, these are the business community's customers, so it benefits the business community because they have more buying power. And yet the other argument is that, why are you giving raises at a time when, you know, the economy is so flat?
Well, pay raises seem to come out every 2 to 4 years. But the truth of the matter is a lot of our frontliners or you know, our public sector, you know, the police officers and the medics and whatnot, they are deserving of pay raises. But at the same token, we need to look at it from both sides of the spectrum. If we are going to, as a government, be able to afford the pay raises for these public employees, we also got to think what's financial, I don't want to call it burden, but what financial weight are we putting on businesses by also forcing them to increase minimum wages? Of course, businesses are known to also give their pay raises, you know, to their employees, but now you're doing an across the board minimum wage increase while keeping up the BEPT, while the government is in surplus. And the fact of the matter is the government is not supposed to be profitable. The government is supposed to sustain, and the business is supposed to be profitable, and the businesses pay the tax along with the taxpayers. And that's just the equation of what our foundation was based on as a country. And I think that we need to get back to that.
All right. And so how can people get involved?
Join. We want everyone to become a member. It's free. It's visit our website, actionpacguam.com. You're going to be visited with, or you're going to be welcomed with one of our new splash pages. It's going to have all of our updates. It's going to also have who our upcoming podcast guests will be once we start launching that toward the latter part of this month. More importantly, register to vote. Register to vote. One of the things that I'm passionate about, and one of the reasons why I took on this position when I was going through the vetting process, was empowering our general public, empowering each citizen. We can't continue to complain if we're not voting, and we have to empower the youth, the younger generation who aren't registered. You know, it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to vote. And when we go into that voting booth and you pick up that pen or that pencil, you literally hold the power. That's your voice, and you're making a decisive recommendation for the future by whose name you fill in that circle. So it is a very important aspect to your and responsibility as a citizen of Guam. So we want everyone to get registered. We're hoping to have community registration drives. And we're in talks. Again, I'm not going to give promises, but we are in talks to try to see if we might be able to have transportation systems to allow those people who haven't had the opportunity to work for the past X amount of months, maybe don't have the means to get to the polls. So we're going to try to see if that's a gap that we can fill. Because again, we are you. The Action PAC is for Guam and for every citizen of Guam. So you can also follow and engage with us on social media. We have a page on Facebook, we have a page on Instagram, and a page on Twitter. And when you do follow us, share our posts, or if it's something concerning to you, tag join the PAC, hashtag join the PAC, or hashtag take action Guam, because we want these elected officials to see that the community is coming together and we have a big voice that must be taken seriously. So again, take action, join the Action PAC, or you can email me directly at takeactionguam@gmail.com. And we're hoping to garner your support.
All right. Any other final messages and maybe something to the candidates?
Okay, great. Let me just close with the 2020 Guam primary election is Saturday, August 27th. Please register to vote. We got to jump ahead of this, and we got to come out in full force as a community, as concerned citizens. And then the general election is the November 8th. So let's get ahead of that as well. And according to the Guam Election Commission, as of January 31st, 2022, there are 49,494 registered voters on Guam. We need to increase that number. Everyone has a voice, and you are afforded that voice by way of voting. So out of our close to 200,000 citizens, we only have right about 50,000 registered voters. So I'm encouraging everyone to look into it. And we are hoping to be that platform to give you the insight on these candidates from a fully transparent platform. And I finally want to encourage my fellow citizens to actively participate, reach out to us, and to our candidates, to our candidate hopefuls. I really hope that in your heart that this is not for party. You're not doing this for Democrats, and you're not doing this for Republicans. You're doing this for Guam, because when it comes down to it, that's where the differences kind of dilute the progress that we really need, especially coming out of this pandemic. So let's work together. Let's be transparent, and we want deliverance. We don't want promises.
All right. Phil Leddy is the executive director of the Action PAC. Thanks for joining us, Phil.
Nestor, I appreciate you. I appreciate KUAM and all of your viewership. Thank you very much, and you guys stay safe.
All right. I'm Nestor Licanto. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you again next week on In Full Zoom.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E.